Chapter 67. Kai.
"There it is,"
Leah said, pointing straight ahead. Driving up to the cabin, Leah's heart fluttered as she laid her eyes on the home she had cherished since childhood. Despite being abandoned for months, it remained unchanged, just as she remembered it when she and Adam ventured into the woods alone. Kai maneuvered the vehicle into the driveway, which was scattered with dying wildflowers and various plants leading up to the cabin nestled in the woods. He switched off the engine, and the sound faded away. They sat there, unmoving, unsure what to do next.
"Nice place,"
Kai said, reaching for the door handle. She followed his lead as they gathered their equipment in a daze, their movements robotic as they trudged up the steps to the cabin. The air inside was chilly and stagnant, the musty smell of being locked up and abandoned for months.
"You can put your stuff in there."
She gestured towards the spare room, the one that was always kept ready for guests, even though it rarely ever got used.
"The sheets are clean, but they may smell a bit musty. I could grab some fresh ones from the cupboard, although they probably smell the same after all this time."
"I'm not worried about that, Leah,"
he said.
"Where is your bedroom? I'll bring your stuff in."
She gestured towards the room across from them and opened the door. Kai brought her bag inside and set it on the floor before heading to the spare room. After a few minutes, they emerged, dressed in warm and dry clothes. The rain had finally stopped, leaving behind a calm stillness in the daylight sky.
"I left some things in the vehicle, like the tent and camping cooking supplies, just in case we need to spend the night in the woods,"
Kai said, trying not to stare at Leah as she struggled to pull a sweatshirt over her head. She was dressed in low-hanging track pants, and the hem of her shirt revealed a hint of her midriff. Leah gave a nod of approval as she gathered her hair into a ponytail. Without uttering another word, she collected the food that Lonnie had prepared for them, and they left the cabin, making their way back to the vehicle. They still had a long way to drive, and there was no way that either of them was going to wait any longer. There was only one place Ben could be, and that was the Decree compound. They were one more step closer to Adam. They parked their car in a secluded grove of trees several miles from the Decree premises. They trekked through the forest, careful not to snap any twigs or rustle any leaves as they made their way towards the building. When they finally arrived at the edge of the complex, they bent low behind a thicket of bushes, peering out at the looming, heavily guarded building with wary eyes. Leah's shoulders slumped, defeated.
"What are we going to do?"
she spoke. Kai pressed his index finger against his lips, signaling for silence, and surveyed his surroundings with a practiced eye, scanning for any potential threats. Soldiers were everywhere. He noticed a tall, dark man standing in the corner. He towered over the rest of the men, his bald head gleaming in the sunlight. Kai recognized him as the husband of Leah's best friend, the short redhead whose voice was too high-pitched for his ears.
"I see your friend's man,"
he spoke with a guarded tone, trying to keep any emotions from slipping out. He could feel Leah's presence behind him. She wanted nothing more than to charge into the compound without a second thought. He rested his flat hand on her chest, causing her to glance at him with surprise. A twinge of embarrassment crept onto her face as she realized he could read her thoughts like an open book.
"He's in there, Kai. I can feel him."
"This is not the way."
He felt her body tremble under his palm. His heart involuntarily quickened its pace as he watched her head bend, causing silky blonde strands of hair to fall over her face like a curtain. Every fiber of his being ached to reach out and tuck the hair behind her ear, but he didn't. He didn't dare.
"Stop it,"
he said in his head. "Stop looking at her that way. For crying out loud, we're here for her son." He tried to shake off the warmth creeping up in his body, causing his cheeks to redden. She continued to fidget, lost in her anxiety and the need to move into action now.
"We need to scout out the surroundings. See where there is an opening before we can move forward, and find out where Adam is being kept."
He watched as Leah took the orange truck from the pocket of her jacket and twisted it nervously in her hands, like he used to do. He found it surprising that he didn't have the urge to reach for his own pocket and feel the emptiness within. A sudden gust of wind rose, seemingly from the earth below. They both turned toward it as their hair whipped around their faces. Leah clutched the toy close to her chest, as if it could anchor her against the strong winds. It made Kai feel afraid and protective, all in one. He didn't want Leah to need that truck like he had for so long. He would do anything to make sure that never happened.
We're definitely going to need to have a plan.
With a swift gesture, he beckoned for her to follow him. Crouching, they moved, skirting the perimeter of the compound. The grass was damp beneath their feet as they made their way through the underbrush, scanning the darkened building for any sign of an entrance. As the sound of children's voices reached their ears, their faces lit up with hope. They made their way to the rear of the building, where they could see a barren playground surrounded by a towering iron fence that appeared to be electrified. Crouching low in the bushes, they kept a safe distance from the tall metal barrier, aware that if Adam was inside the building, it was just a matter of time before he would come outside to join the rest of the children. They watched as the children played, barely making any sounds, hoping to glimpse Adam among them. But after what felt like hours, there was still no sign of him. Kai's heart sank with disappointment and fear. Was Adam even here? Or were they on a wild goose chase? Feeling a tug on his sleeve, Kai turned to Leah. Without hesitation, he embraced her in a comforting hug.
We'll find him,
he whispered, his voice barely audible. Leah nodded, taking a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever came next.
Amanda!
She whispered, touching Kai's arm. Emerging from the building, Amanda made her way over to where the women and children gathered in the yard. Leah pushed herself up from the ground, but Kai's firm hand on her shoulder held her firmly in place. She tried to speak, but his other hand quickly covered her mouth and pulled her towards him. He could feel her quick gasps rising and falling against his hand. She tried to pry it away, but he held them firmly in place, leaning in closer to her. His warm breath tickling her ear as he whispered, "Look!" He pointed towards a tall, willowy woman coming from the building's entrance. As if on cue, the children stopped what they were doing and turned to face the approaching figure with hushed obedience. With graceful steps, the woman made her way towards Amanda. The surrounding air seemed still as the woman drew near, her presence demanding attention and respect. Leah's fingers unclenched from Kai's hand as her body relaxed and he let go of her. They watched in silence as Amanda made her way towards the woman. One hand rested protectively on her belly. The thin woman made a comment to Amanda.
"Did she just say Adam?"
Leah spoke in a hushed tone, restraining herself from getting up. Kai nodded, his ears straining to catch every word that fell from the strange woman's mouth. And then it happened. He was certain he heard her utter Adam's name. They stopped moving, leaning in to listen quietly to what the two women were saying.
"Tabitha, this is wrong! Where is Leah?"
Amanda exclaimed, her face twisted in distress and worry. Her eyes darted around the yard and the tall iron fence, searching for any signs of something or someone, before turning back to face the other woman. Tabitha's expression was one of clear disdain for Amanda as she pursed her lips and locked eyes with her.
"Are you questioning our leader?"
the woman asked. Amanda was instantly silenced, the look on her face suddenly frightened.
"The boy is secure within the compound, far from his mother and the harsh conditions of living in the forest."
Amanda opened her mouth in protest, but quickly closed it.
"I will be helping the boy get ready to join the other children to play. I'd like you to take charge of helping him adjust to the decree way of life and integrate him with the other kids. You obviously know him, and he is familiar with you. You have the ability to soothe his distress from losing his mother and adjusting to living here as one of the children of the decree."
Amanda, visibly stunned, tried to compose herself.
"You want me to take care of Adam?"
Her voice trembled slightly as she asked, her tone betraying her nerves. The stern woman turned her gaze towards her with an expression of frustration and impatience for Amanda's lack of understanding.
"That's what I said, isn't it?"
"But I don't understand,"
Amanda said, visibly shaken by the words of the other woman spoke.
"For crying out loud, Amanda, what is it that you don't understand? You know him and his mother. He trusts you."
Amanda didn't reply.
"Is that clear enough for you, or do I need to repeat myself and say it slower?"
"No,"
Amanda stuttered.
"I'll gladly watch Adam, but Leah..."
She paused.
"Adam Holland is now a member of the decree. His mother is not.
Tabitha, wait, how?
He's been very upset since he arrived, and he won't stop crying.
Tabitha continued, ignoring Amanda's questions.
I'm going to give him a little more time out to compose himself before allowing him to come see you.
Time out?
Amanda reached for Tabitha's arm as she turned away to leave. She yanked her arm away with surprising strength and in a cool voice said,
Children of the decree have to behave in a certain manner. It's protocol, and Adam has, shall we say, been allowed to run wild. He will spend some time alone in isolation until he can compose himself and behave. Then, and only then, he can come outside and play with the other children, as long as he follows the rules. And that's on you, Amanda. You will make sure he does.
You can't leave him alone. He's only 3 years old.
Amanda's voice was rising, becoming panicked.
A child must learn early who is the boss and who is not. Do I need to find someone else to help Adam? There are plenty of women here who would gladly take on this important role.
No, I will do it. He'll respond better to me. Can I see him?
Amanda asked, covering her hands with her mouth. Tabitha turned once again to leave, but paused without looking back.
I will inform Adam that if he is quiet and he behaves, he can come out and see you.
Amanda's eyes shot up, relieved.
Thank you, Tabitha. I think that would be a great idea. You're right. He will respond better knowing there is somebody else familiar to him here, besides Ben.
Ben's going to be very busy with Malcolm. He will not have time to be watching after a boy. You will be Adam's caregiver.
Tabitha's eyes trailed down to Amanda's stomach, straining against her shirt.
You'll need the practice anyway.
Turning, she left without speaking another word, leaving Amanda alone in the compound. She stood there as the children played, oddly quiet, in the desolate playground. Amanda turned and walked towards the fence, wrapping her fingers around the metal links and looking out longingly into the woods. Kai and Leah burrowed down, concealing themselves further in the foliage to avoid being seen.
She's our way in,
Kai whispered, keeping his view locked on Leah's friend.
Amanda?
Look how she responded to the woman, Tabitha. They don't like each other.
Amanda clasped her hands over her eyes, her shoulders rising and falling with silent sobs.
I have to go get her.
Leah began to stand, but Kai pulled her down, glaring at her.
Then what? You expose us? You need to stop and think, Leah,
he hissed, trying to keep his voice low enough so that Amanda wouldn't hear.
We need to go about this smart and not just jump in, guns blazing.
Tears gathered in Leah's eyes, and she quickly brushed them away with the back of her hand. She nodded in understanding, but all Kai saw was how helpless she looked, her hands tied from doing nothing. The door to the compound flew open, slamming against the wall as Adam burst out, calling out for Amanda. With a look of disbelief, she spun around at the sound of Adam's voice.
Adam!
She yelled out in reply, bending low to scoop the little boy up as he ran into her waiting arms. Leah gasped, and Kai felt the flood of emotions he hadn't expected to feel as he watched the little boy get scooped up into Amanda's open arms. Without thinking, he wrapped his arm around Leah's shoulders and pulled her tight in his embrace, his throat tightening with a wave of relief he'd never experienced before. Leah's body shook against his, silent sobs trying to escape between the cracks of her fingers covering her mouth. In the doorway, Tabitha watched as Amanda tightened her arms around Adam. Her hand gently stroked his hair, while the other hand held him snug against her as she whispered words of comfort into his ear.
Remember what I said, Amanda. Don't fail, or the boy will be placed with somebody else.
Tabitha's voice pierced the air sharp and shrill before she turned and closed the heavy industrial door with a resounding thud. Amanda didn't turn around, but continued to hold Adam close to her. She wrapped his small legs securely around her waist as he buried his head in her shoulder, tears streaming down his cheeks.
Where's Mama? I want Mama.
His voice rang out, his words cutting into both Leah and Kai as they clung to each other, silent. The fence stood looming high, a wall keeping Adam from them. There was no opening, and it would be impossible to climb with a 3-year-old in tow.
Shh, Adam. It's okay. It's okay, sweetheart.
Amanda soothed, stroking his hair as he hiccuped, his cries becoming hoarse.
Daddy took me from Mama. He made me sleep and put me in his car. My eyes kept sleeping even when I tried to make them stay awake. And I couldn't see Mama, only the ravens following me.
Adam, don't worry. Shh. Don't worry, buddy.
Amanda crooned, tears coming down her face as she spoke.
Where is she, Amanda? Where's Mama?
Leah broke then. The words she wanted to call out strangled at the back of her throat. She wrapped her arms around Kai like he was the only thing that could keep her from sinking right into the ground. He clung to her, feeling useless with his own overwhelming emotions. How could they be so close, yet so far away from bringing the boy back to them? They stayed hidden, watching as Amanda rocked Adam in her arms until his hiccups subsided and his tears stopped. She whispered comforting words that Leah and Kai were unable to hear.
She loves him.
Leah's tear-streaked face looked up into Kai's.
I know she loves him. As long as she's watching him, we know we'll be safe.
Kai nodded, still holding her in his arms, not wanting to ever let her go.
Now what?
She said, looking back at Amanda and Adam.
Where do we go from here?
Kai didn't know what to say. He felt helpless and unsure what the hell to do. Leah placed her hand over his chest. He covered her hand with his, holding it as he felt the pulse of his heartbeat against her palm, sending vibrations through his shirt and into her grasp. Her hand on his heart made him feel stronger, more determined, and not alone. But it also made him want to cry, and he didn't know why. He was not one to shed tears. Ever. Yet, here he was with Leah, who had seen him cry more than anyone else in his life. They stayed unmoving as they watched in silence until Amanda, with Leah's son cradled securely in her arms, turned and strode back into the depths of the decree compound, the shadows swallowing them whole as they disappeared from view.